Hello and welcome back to another thrilling episode. Today I am joined by Chris Cowley, the race director of a race that I recently ran, was the Fetteresso Forest Marathon. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Nice to get the race over with for another year.
It is sunny outside and we're both stuck inside, but we'll deal with that one later. Uh, for now, can you tell us about when did the Fetteresso race come about?
So I guess it started in my head, sort of 2015 maybe. Did a lot of running in Fetteresso Forest when I lived in Stonehaven, and thought there really should be a race in here. Had natural sort of loops we ran with running like guys from the Stonehaven Running Club, and there was a sort of few that you could put together and make about a marathon if you did a bit of jiggery pokery. So did some research, figured out I could stage a trial event on forestry land for free with if I had less than 50 people. So sent a few emails around, I think, to Metro, Stonehaven, Cosmics, I think, and possibly Bankery or D-side, yeah. And did a trial run with 50 signups in 2017. And then officially we had properly organised race since 2018 onwards, just missing 1 year for COVID. So, yeah, it's been going a little while now.
And one thing that stands out for me is your cost per mile is probably one of the cheapest races that you can do nowadays.
Yeah, I'm quite proud of that. It's £10 for a race entry, that's right, and 50p for your, I think, the entry central fee. So it's £10.50.
Yeah.
So I figured I could do it cheap. I always liked the hill race mentality of things being run really cheaply. No one really makes a profit. To be fair, we do turn a profit. I'd love it all back into Stonehaven Running Club. I don't take anything for myself. I think if I did, I'd put the price up. No, I'm joking. I think it's good to be accessible. Like, no, I don't want anyone to worry about having to pay a lot of money to enter a race they want to race. I think it's a shame when some races become profit hungry machines. And I've done some of them, but it's nice that it's a tenner. We still turn a bit of money. I rely on a lot of volunteers to help me on the day to make it cheap. But yeah, you don't need all the extra frills. You know, the other day I was looking. Would it be nice to have Fetteresso Forest Marathon flags for the start? Yeah, it would, but it would eat all the money, so we don't need them. So we don't have them. Everything's done on the cheap, and the focus is just on having a good place to run and running a decent race. Yeah.
I think you said to me on the day there was one thing that was actually expensive but worth it, and that was the Portaloos.
Yeah, that's right. The price went up by about £100 last year, so it's my biggest expense is my toilets. Quite frustrating. They so we used to have three. We've gone down to two. Seems to do the trick. No one's complained they've not been able to go to the toilet. We don't have big queues, so I think we'll continue with two for a while.
So, what was there anything that happened this year that was a standout moment for you?
Are you talking standout positive or standout negative?
Both.
Yeah, so good things. Obviously, a couple of records went. The biggest sort of, well, so the half an hour record went off this male vet 60, I think. The guy and a different guy ran it. I think did the V50 record go as well? And obviously Rob taking the overall record was pretty special, 2:43. And he looked fresh at the end. He could have gone faster than that, and especially on a faster day. This wasn't an especially faster year this year. Quite a lot of mud, and well, you know better than me. You ran it, I just drove it, and it's quite a bit of snow early on as well. So that you know, there's some good standouts for me. Also, I can't remember her name, but the lady that finished third, she was really quite young, and it's just nice to see young people coming out. And I think she's 20 years old. I think she's probably the youngest person in the race. In fact, she got a podium, which I thought that was really nice.
Yeah. You say that I ran it. Do you have FOMO about not running it?
What do you mean? Oh, as in, oh yeah, like I don't get to run on the day.
Yeah. Would you prefer to be running it or race directing it?
I think if I was race fit, I'd love to run it. I think it would probably suit me really well. Wouldn't say I'm race fit just now, so I'm terrible for ever doing any runs or races when I'm not feeling really good about where my fitness is. I'm probably not, maybe I'm not mentally strong enough, I always say. So this year, definitely rather direct it.
Yeah, because I ran it as a training run, and
Yeah.
I know in the past that I've said that and went out fast, but no, I was deliberately running it as a training run because I've got another race in, well, it's now 2 weeks time. So it's
Which race is that?
Russellbock backyard.
Ah, yes, brilliant. Sorry, you should be doing the questions, shouldn't you? I didn't know. I think I didn't know you were doing that. So it's good to hear people using it as a training race. So the reason it's in February, it wasn't just a random month picked out of the air. It was, I know West Highland Way race is a big race for a lot of Scottish guys or people that are running it, obviously in Scotland, in June. And obviously the Fling came as a sort of training run that's formalised itself into a race 10 or so years ago. And the D33 was put where it was to allow a nice training run before that. So this slots in perfectly to the West Highland Way training plan if you want to use it. It's undulating. It's not as technical as the Lochside as such, but the rest of it's really nice and runnable. It's just like West Highland Way is really quite runnable. So it sort of sits nice to know where you are early in the season if you want to use it as a training run.
I think that this year compared to last year, there was a lot. There's, as you said, snow, mud. The thing that got me was where they've tried to flatten out the road, fill in the potholes. That ground was so soft, it was like running on sand.
Yeah, there definitely was some pretty tough bits this year for that.
With the improvements that they made to the road, that leads me on to, have you got any improvements that you would make to the race on the day?
I mean, I'd love to make it cheaper. I know we're cheap, but it'd be nice to be even less for people. Improvements. We have a little issue. There's a couple of houses in the forest near where we live, near where the race goes. Sorry, one stone house. I don't think we usually get problems with them. But there's another house nearby, and I'm convinced they moved my signs. There was someone seen moving the signs this year. I think Rob saw someone moving the signs. It's happened before. They ripped the signs down. our signs are all cheaply made, and they're basically bits of paper laminated that I use every year with stringing. And they ripped through my laminate. And so maybe having a few more marshals, if I could, around those areas to make sure if anything gets damaged, we've got someone to point the way. We have plenty of marshals anyway, but yeah, that would be, if I can stop those people from hating the race for whatever reason, that'd be a big improvement. We also had a really weird situation this year where a guy who now has the record for the slowest completion of the race, he somehow got behind the sweepers, and we had to wait quite a while for him to finish. So it's quite amazing what he did. So we had our two sweepers, Victoria and Martin Heggie, both running at the back. Victoria took one of our dogs as well, took Dee Dee. He'd managed to see an arrow that wasn't anything to do with the race. Wasn't the same colour as the race, wasn't quite the same shape as the race, but he didn't have his glasses on, so he just turned. I know you know the course. Not long after the water station, there's a right turn that takes you out of the forest. And he started to go down there, got to the end, realised he'd gone wrong, waited for a while, tried to figure out what he'd done. Without his glasses, that kept steaming up. He had his map and compass and things, and he was trying to read his map, but he struggled when his glasses were steamy. And then when he came back onto the course, our sweepers collect the signs in to save any work later on. So he gets back and has no idea what he's doing. He did manage to pretty much right himself, but that was a bit stressful. Being at the end, having him lost man.
Fair enough. Does that put you off? My next question was going to be, have you got any plans for hosting any other races?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. There's a really natural half marathon that would be quite difficult from the same car park in the forest. And I always think maybe I'll do a trial run, but at some point in the future, there needs to be a race on that route, I think, in the dark, but sort of summer dark. So maybe a June, July night race, like Friday after work sort of time, 7:00. It could be quite a nice route. I think the forest quite well. It incorporates the bit we call the roller coaster and goes up to Durris Mast as well. So it doesn't really doesn't retrace the old Durris Mast race much, but it kind of uses some of those same bits. I think that'd be quite good. And also, and I've thought about it a few times. I spoke to a couple of people about it, and then Rob Sinclair messaged me the other day. I don't know if he told you about there needs to be a Loch Nagar race or White Mount Rose race. So it's in the back of my mind. I've not done anything about it yet, but it's worrying.
Yeah, I've thought about the same race. There'd be a 19-mile route is the natural one for it, but yeah, it's
It is, and alternate it each year.
Yeah.
Toyed about, could you let people choose which way round they go? That might be a bit difficult for marshalling, but one way will be quicker. I don't know. And I think the issue would be the car parking. Again, that's the same with Fetteresso. The race is capped because of how big the car park is. And if I need a bigger car park, I'm going to have to pay a farmer for a field. And then the race entries go up. So it kind of kills the ethos of the race. So, yeah, logistics.
Well, Lochnagar has got a new car park built.
The overflow. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, let's see.
More accessible.
Yeah.
The other option is that you do it from Ballater and then it's a 5-mile run from there.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that would work because Glenmick Road's a bit annoying, isn't it? With a one-way, well, it's a single track at some places you got to pass.
If you're running, you can run at the other side of is it River Mick or wherever it is?
Yeah. I've never run the other side of it. I don't think I've run from Ballater, and in fact, the only time I've ever been stung by a bee twice. We've had the beehive. Must be the Queen. Well, at the time, the Queen's beehive. So maybe I got stung by the Queen's queen bee. I don't know.
I think Charles at the time had a house around there, so it's probably his.
He's still got Bert Call, but has he got another one over there? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back on topic.
Yes.
You're not just a race director; you're a runner yourself. So, can you give me a bit of history about your running?
Yeah, I used to run a little bit at school, did cross country, always did okay. School level would be top few, and then go to county level and get trounced. And got into running kind of after university, liked being in the hills, liked going a long way, and read about. I think I read about the West Highland Way race, thinking, oh, cool, people would run that, and just started going longer and longer. So, I think my first race when I would call myself a runner was probably the Larry Grew. Maybe the Om. I don't know. Om 2014, maybe the Larry Grew 2014. I can't remember. And just kept going longer, and I kind of really enjoy, the long stuff. So I've done the 3 big hardmoors races: the 110, the 160, the 200. I've done the Spine, done Northbound to 800, UTMB, Grand Tour Courmayeur, Glenmore, West Highland Way, probably a few others. Yeah, and just long runs on my own as well. You joined me for the last big one a few years ago, the Aberdeenshire coastline. So yeah, just like getting out and adventuring.
And that one, for people that are watching just now, he ran past my house. So the coastline is just out the window there. What was that? That was about 150 miles.
Yeah, I think probably 145-ish, something like that.
Yeah. So, of all you've done some massive races. What would you say is the hardest one?
Oh man, probably the hardest ones are when I feel terrible and I don't finish. So I went back to the hardmoors 160 a few years ago and just kept throwing up blood and couldn't stop throwing up blood. And it was, I think, the emotional drain of knowing I'd done really well at that race before. I felt fit going in, and my body just didn't work that day. That I don't know if that's what you mean by the hardest, but that's pretty hard emotionally to pull out of something. Same, I did Gloucester 24-hour track last year, and again I felt like I was in good shape, and I just screwed the race up by, I think, eating too much, front loaded my food early on, smashing more calories than I've ever eaten before because I could, and then paying for it after 7 hours and just constantly being sick in this patch of grass. So those sort of things are hard. UTMB's hard, but if you can keep moving, it's okay. It's the same with the Spine, that you get into a rhythm of sleep deprivation and moving through terrible ground, and it's okay. It's fun.
I think different races are hard for different reasons. You're saying they're hard because there was something that went wrong with you, but in terms of the course, which one would you say was hard?
Oh man,
it's like the track race. Surely you've got the boredom of going round and round on the same track all the time, but compared to the Spine, it's
the terrain-wise, it's fine. The Spine was hard, and I did it in quite a muddy year. It wasn't overly cold. I mean, it was cold, but not like this year when it was freezing ground. So it was just bog and pulling your feet out of the bog all the time. But I guess that was hard. It was hard, but I'd love to do it again. Yeah, UTMB, the heat, I really struggled in the heat. And same with Gran Turismo Mayer, I had a few issues, like getting up over 3,000 meters and feeling just instantly getting tired and not being able to breathe. My heart rate going right up. That adds a whole another layer of complication and you can't really train for in the UK.
So you said you wanted to do the spine again. Is that something that's going to happen, or is there?
Yeah, I think it will happen. I thought about it for next year and I wasn't sure. And it's just a lot of money I think it was £1,000 or something. I've got all the kit. And yeah, it's quite a lot and I hadn't decided. And then I was away at the exact time that the spine opened this year. I was somewhere with no signal. And then by the time I came to signal about an hour after it opened, it was sold out. And the waiting list had hundreds and hundreds of people in. So I didn't bother. Maybe but in another year, yeah, I'll be keen.
Yeah. So my next question was going to be, why do you run? Why do you want to do that race? What is it?
Yeah, good question. I'm not really running from something like I think some people are. I think I just really enjoy it. I feel like when I'm as fit as I can be, I feel so much better about myself. And I enjoy the feeling of everything feeling easy when you're in really good shape. And to get racing motivates me to get into that shape. And then when you have a great race, it's just an amazing feeling. So like a huge endorphin hit. And it can be for weeks afterwards for me. And if you get into when you're in that when you feel really fit and you get into a weird flow when you're running, I don't know, I could hear it called a flow state. I think that's quite a nice way to think of it. You almost go, it's just you in a trail. Oh, it's great. So if I can get, you know the feeling, I can see you smiling. Yeah. I've only had it a few times and I've had it a few times in races and yeah, I guess I'm looking for that.
So in terms of achievements, is a decent race, doesn't matter what the result, is that your greatest achievement, or have you got something that you're more proud of, like winning? You won the hardware races. What would be your biggest achievement?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like winning races feels amazing. I love that. I do like that, and I do like. But the thing I love about running is that in races, and I don't race that often now, but you can't really argue with the result. If someone beat you, they ran better than you that day, and I think that's really nice. It's kind of, I don't know, it always romanticizes running. So if you're playing a team sport, you're playing a football team. There's 11 of you on a pitch plus a load of subs. If something goes wrong, if you don't win, it's a team issue. It's not just you. But in running, if there's someone ahead of you, well done to them. Like, it's good. I like seeing people do well, even if sometimes it's at my expense. So I think in running, my best performance has been the Hardmoors 110 in 2017, and I didn't win. I think I was third. I was winning for a while of it, and it was my first sort of race I'd done really well in, kind of my breakthrough in like my fitness being up there, and it was the only race I've ever done that I've outperformed my target ever. And I don't know how I did it, and I kept looking at my watch thinking this is a bit spicy. Well up on my time here. Well, at some point I'm going to crash, and I never did. And even in subsequent races that I've gone on to do better in and win, they've never felt quite as good as that one. So maybe I'm chasing that feeling of a third place.
Going back to what you said earlier, you were thrown up on course and various other things. Is that what you would count as a running injury? Because
also, can you say that again? Your signal went a bit.
Sorry.
That's okay. I've got you.
I'll just start again.
Okay.
Right. Going back to what you said earlier about throwing up on course,
yeah.
Would you count that as a running injury? If not, what is your biggest running injury that you've had?
Yeah, I maybe wouldn't count it as an injury. I don't know what it was. I don't know what caused it. It was a nightmare though, because I felt great going in. Biggest running injury. I stress fractured my foot in 2014 or 15. That was quite annoying. I had like metatarsal stress fractures, and I did the in which, for those that don't know, is a sort of 2-day marathon on terrible terrain with no paths and maps and stuff. Good fun. But I use these shoes that I've still got. They're called Innovate Bear Grip 200s. They were the second version. They were completely flat, 0 mil drop, no cushion, just the studs at the bottom. They were really aggressive, and they flexed in every way you could imagine. And I really like running in them, but they're not good for contouring for 2 days, and your feet get put under quite a lot of stress. And then the week after after that race, I did a sprint session and just kind of heard a click. And I thought, oh, what was that? And I kept going, and it was agony. And I think it took me about 20, 25 minutes to walk 200 meters back to my house with all my laces undone. So that was out for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, something like that. That was probably the worst. But I've got a little issue on one of my ankle tendons just now. That's really ruining my running. So it's quite frustrating. That's the worst one at the moment. I don't tend to get injured though. I tend to be quite lucky. So it caught me at a bad time.
So how long do you think you're out for your current injury?
I don't know. I've been running on it a few times the last few weeks, and it's weird. I wake up in the morning, it's really stiff, and I have to walk on the outside of my foot. And then as I walk on it, it loosens off, and I run and it feels okay, but I can feel it's not quite right. And then if I run the next day, it hurts a bit more in the morning. So I don't know. We're going on our honeymoon in a few days to Costa Rica. We're supposed to be running there just for no planned races or anything, just running on volcanoes and in jungles and cloud forests and things. Don't know. That's going to be quite a stretch, maybe.
So you might be doing the support.
Yeah, maybe. But it's going to be such an amazing place to not. Victoria's telling me she's running up a volcano at 8 a.m. to get to see a cloud-free rainforest from above. It's going to be hard not to run. Can't let her do all the fun stuff.
Right. The next subject was nutrition. What do you fuel with during a race?
Probably not enough. I'm terrible at eating. So I've had a few times when the spine's easy to eat on, even when I did the coastline thing, because you're moving slower because the terrain's not great. You can stop and eat a proper meal and things. In long races, I kind of mix it up quite a lot. I'll use gels sometimes, but try and use them later on. I'll use weirdly, I've got it next to me. I've started using these Serene bars. They're really good. I'll make stuff. I'll make sort of flapjack. I've made sweet potato brownie before. That was pretty good. Crisps. One time, I think for the half was 160. I ate probably like 15 packs of double stuffed Oreos. I'll eat a lot of nonsense. I'll eat great watermelon. I quite like that, but calorifically it doesn't really help much. It's just nice.
Yep.
I eat a lot of junk, which probably isn't ideal. I'll sometimes eat wraps. I'll eat nuts. I'll eat salted nuts and chocolate and raisins and whatever. I'm not really strict in what I eat really in races.
What about non-racing? How's your nutrition and your diet?
It could be better. I mean, I think everyone could be better. We eat a lot of noodles. I eat a lot of rice and tofu and eat chili sometimes and loads of veg. But I'll also eat junk. I mean, next to me right now, I've got a packet of. I'll show you. I've just eaten a packet of hula hoops before I came on. I've got that Serene bar, and I've also got, because I've always got food with me, some like free from white chocolate bar as well. So variable, I'd say. I eat good stuff. I eat bad stuff. I should probably cut the bad stuff.
Your free from bar, is that for the free from dairy, or what is it from?
Yeah, I don't eat animal products. You can call it what you want. The fashionable how to say plant-based, but I just whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't use that term. It sounds a bit weird.
Yeah, there's a word starting with V that seems to have very strict rules. Yeah,
I'd say I'm a vegan, but I don't really care for labels. It's just an easy way to describe what you are and what you do. I just don't have a need for eating animal products, so I don't. But I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong for doing it.
Yep. Well done.
It's hard. You don't want to come across self-righteous.
Right. The next one was not that anybody can see out your view at the moment, but you're in the hills. Is that a preferred place to be?
Yeah, I like to be trails, hills, forests. I love running in forests. I love running on coastlines. But yeah, I like to be in the middle of nowhere if I can be, or somewhere quiet. Despite not necessarily being a quiet person, I could probably ruin these areas.
So,
there's wildlife around as well. I'm always looking for birds and mammals and whatever else is around.
I remember when I was doing a small portion of your 145-mile run round past my house. You were seemed to be talking about wildlife then, and you were, despite having run for probably 24 hours at that time, you were more with it in the wildlife than what I was anyway.
I'm always looking. So it's funny. I tell people what I've seen, and they're like, "Oh, how do you see all this stuff?" It's like, well, you just have to look for it. I'm just keep your eyes open. And I read a bit about what's going on, and I like to, my dad's really into birds, so I grew up from when I was young, being force fed this encyclopedic knowledge of British birds and then other wildlife as well. So you either listened or you didn't. So I guess I just soaked a lot of that in. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm always, it's nice to see what's around. It's exciting. I've seen a pine marten. It's like a week or month highlight for me. I get them in the garden every now and again. That's amazing. But you have to be in the right place to see them at the right times. And when I find out one of my friends always has seen one and they don't make any effort to see them, they just got lucky, it makes me annoyed. I've earned that. They don't bother.
So there's the feeling of seeing you've earned being able to see wildlife. How does that compare to earning your third place?
Oh no, third place is better. Getting a podium or a win is quite hard to beat that.
Right. When you're out in the forest, in the hills, do you listen to music at all?
Yeah, I do. I listen to music. I listen to podcasts. I've often got I these Aeropex sort of they're called shocks now. The bone conducting ear things, so they're quite good unless you're running by a road. But yeah, I love to listen to music and podcasts. Too many. I listen to so many podcasts actually. I listen to them all sped up, so I can get them all in.
Yeah, I usually listen to them at 1.4 speed, which makes when they play music afterwards, it makes the music sound totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at you, Young Hearts Run Free, when they play their song at the end,
Yep.
and it just sounds terrible. Yeah, funny.
But is there any particular genre of music that you listen to?
Yeah, I grew up listening to sort of late 90s, early 2000s punk and pop punk, and then sort of folk punk stuff out of that, and then any variation of whatever really. But yeah, that's kind of what I'd like.
Right, when you're not listening to punk music, or even when you're doing a long race, what are you thinking about?
Probably if I'm racing, I'd be thinking about the people ahead or behind or both, and when I'm going to get them, when I'm going to make my move, if I can make a move, and probably also telling myself I need to eat because I probably haven't eaten for a few hours, especially if it's sort of 7 hours into a race. I know I need to be eating more, so force myself to eat. And then I've run quite a few long races where I've had Jason Kelly crewing me, and we do a lot of shouting.
What happens on the racetrack stays on the racetrack.
Exactly, yeah. Some of the stuff we say is wild, and same with the stuff he's been running as well. Yeah.
But that's a sign of good friendship that you understand that is happening on race day, and then it doesn't actually matter.
No, it's just playing. Yeah. Cool. And if everything goes wrong and you end up losing or DNFing, it's just a run. It's just a race, isn't it? So
yeah,
everything's still there. Nothing really changes. No one else cares.
Right. Do you do anything to supplement your running, like cross training, or do you stretch?
I used to be so good at doing all that, and I got a bit out of it, and I need to get back into it. Victoria's so good at doing it as well, so she gets on at me. So we've got a Peloton now downstairs, so I should go on that a bit more. But just now, everything hurts my ankle, so I'm not. And I'll get into mobility, flexibility stuff for a while, and I'll get out of it again, and I'll get. So at the moment, I'm not doing much. Let's be honest, I'm not doing any, but I should be. So, and cross training, I quite like going out on a bike, but I don't really until I'm injured. But I'm kind of active anyway, so I'm in the garden a lot, doing stuff in there. That puts you in some funny positions, using your back and your legs and all sorts of weird things that hurt the next day. And just I walk quite a lot as well, so yeah, I'm quite just generally active.
Are you a coached runner?
Yeah, I've been coached by Paul Giblin since I want to say sort of March 2017. So yes.
And do you think that does he tell you exactly what to do so you don't have to think about it? Do you make your own plans?
So, no, he gives me my plans, and I mostly stick to them. And then sometimes for work and things, I have to jig them around a bit. We've kind of got a good relationship, but I just tell him I'm having to do that. You get flexibility and stuff every day, pretty much as well. So you try and fit in. For me, it appears prescribed. It says do this, but in reality, if you know that the issue's with your lower legs and not your back that week, work on your lower legs only and do whatever, So it appears rigid, but it's not. And me and Paul are quite good friends now, so just chat about things quite openly.
And leading up to a race, and I'm talking about the race that you were race director for as well. Do you get nervous?
For my own races, if I'm running a race, as in by running a race, I mean I'm partaking in it. I realise running is what an annoying word to use, right? I do get nervous and I get a bit stressed out about things. I try and make a plan that I'll sit on Excel where I'm comfortable, figuring out splits and all this, and that I very rarely ever stick to. For like organising a race, more just no, I don't think I get nervous about organising it. Now it's kind of, I don't want to say it runs itself because I have to do everything, but it's the same each year, so I know what I'm doing. As long as I've got enough volunteers to help on the day, shouldn't be nervous.
Shouldn't have anything to be nervous about if you've got the planning right.
Exactly.
Does that not count for you running the race as well, though? If you've done the training.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of, I think, when I've got Fetteresso to organise all the variables, I can pretty much control them. In a race, if your stomach decides not to play ball or something goes or your kit breaks, you've always got spare, haven't you? But yeah, I think I'm a bit of a control freak. So with Fetteresso, I kind of control everything, and I can't control everything in a race, so that makes it a bit harder. I don't know.
Right. Speaking about something's gone wrong, that might be a regret. Is there anything in running that you've regretted doing? Any things that you wished you'd done in the past? Anything like that?
Yeah, good question. I think I've always thought that a 24-hour track race would suit me really well, and I put it off, and I finally did one last year, and I had a shocker. I don't know what I ran, 100. I honestly don't know, 110 miles maybe, like considerably less than I ran when I did Glenmore 24 a few years before, and I think I was probably in as good as or better shape for Gloucester, and I really screwed it up by I think I ate way too much, and I really, really regret that because I still like to see what I can do. It takes quite a lot out of you doing training for that race and then running that race. So to do another one is quite a lot of effort, and I will have to do one at some point. But I really regret being an idiot and smashing had these precision hydration gels that are I think 90 grams of carbs, big sachets like a Capri-Sun. It was great, but I was just necking it in 10 minutes and then trying to stuff my face and eating 150 grams of carbs an hour, which I've never really even thought about grams of carbs an hour until last year, and that's way too much. And I was like, this is going in fine. And I know full well I haven't trained to eat that sort of food that much, that quickly. So I really regret being an idiot at that race because it's quite a long way to go to just waste it all. And I guess if anyone else asked me, if I was coaching someone or if a friend asked and they said, should I do this on race day? I've never done it before. I'd tell them they were a moron. So made my own mistakes.
Is there any dream races that you've got? People call it a bucket list, but is there anything that you want to do?
Oh, sorry, you're thinking quite funny. Was that? Is there any dream races? Is that what you were saying?
I'll start again.
Yeah.
Is there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Is there any dream races that you want to do? Any people call it a bucket list, but is there anything that you have on that you've not done yet that you want to do?
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a lot. I don't know. I've not really wanted to. I really wanted to do the spine. I'd really, really, really wanted to do that. And I've done it. And other things. There's a race that looks ridiculous that I'd love to have a go at. There's a dog sled race called the Iditarod, which is a sort of big race in Alaska. They run from Anchorage to Nome, and silly amount of miles. And it was based on that sled dog teams that took some medicine many a year ago. If you read about it, if you don't know about it, it's really interesting. But they do a foot race of that now, and I think you can't do it unless you've done the half version of it first. And the idea of running, I don't know, best part of 1,000 miles through Alaska, that sounds amazing. I don't know how feasible it is. And I like the idea of that, or just some stupid, like, really difficult challenge, running in somewhere in the South Pole, North Pole areas, or the Arctic spine, and makes it a little bit more accessible, I guess. That sort of thing appeals to me, but no particular race as such, no.
My next question was going to be, what's next? But before that, you're saying that you've done 24-hour races. You do a lot of long races. How does backyard ultras sound?
Yeah, I think that would suit me as well. I got an email from, I think it was Bill. Does he coordinate the Scottish team?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a few years ago, and I thought I'd replied to him. I don't know if he listens to this, but I was looking through some emails the other day, and I saw the reply to him. In fact, I can check now. It's still sitting in my drafts from when he asked me to come and run with that. 2021. He messaged me. He emailed me about it, and I never replied. September 2021, and I thought I had, and I thought he just never got back to me. So it turns out I didn't ever hit send. But yeah, I do think I do fancy that. I think if I can get myself in good shape, it would suit me. Just knowing how long to take off work. I usually take off a week or so afterwards for recovery, but you don't know how long a week's going to be. When are you going to finish?
Yeah, that's the issue that I have as well. It's
Yeah.
when you're driving down to England, you've got how long do you book off work? Because then you've got another day to get home as well.
Yeah, and like booking public transport is dodgy as well, because you might miss it, or you might finish on a Sunday or whatever. And I don't know, stubbornness would help. I think you've got a lot of that. I think I've got a bit of that. So
yeah, makes for a good runner.
Yeah. And the other thing, I think the thing that's funny about the backyard stuff, you look at some of the courses, and if I did it, I'd want to do as best as I could. And the courses are so non-comparable. So you get hilly courses, you get really, really muddy courses, and there might be a time that you could done, I can't even think of how many, 100 yards. But then because the terrain's terrible, you're only going to do 40, despite what shape you're in. And the lack of, it's good that they're variable, but there's quite a massive amount of variability that, doing them on a tarmac, a sort of trail, almost as good as tarmac path in the dry, is very different to doing them in sort of wet mud, which I know I think some of the Scottish ones have been quite muddy, haven't they? The Highlander a few years ago was quite muddy. Was that right?
Yeah, it was. It was muddy underfoot, but it's because it was torrential rain the whole race. So
yeah,
and it was warm as well, which made it even more annoying. You were sweating inside your waterproofs.
Yeah, that's difficult. But yeah, I think what Faye said, I'll do one at some point. I will.
Oh well, I'll have a word with Bill and get back to you.
Okay.
So to wrap it up, what's next for Chris?
Race wise,
or just running wise.
Yeah, running well. So I'm booked in for the Hard Miles 200 again in May. I won it in 2019. I didn't go back to it the next time it was on, and it's on again this year. Hoping my ankle will sort itself out quickly, and that will allow me to get in shape. If it doesn't, I'll have to bail from it, but I really don't want to, because I really, really want to do it. I absolutely adore that race. And for those of you listening that have never done a hard miles race, they're brilliant. They are so good, and the race directors are amazing. The courses are really, really good. The people, they're friendly races. So I would definitely recommend them as an alternative 100 milers for you Scottish folk. It's not that far away from Scotland to get to it. So yeah, the Hard Miles 200 is my next big race. I've got a few plans of things. I really, really want to run east to west Scotland on trail. Don't know if anyone's done it as a run. I think we've spoken about it before. A few people have done it and walking and taking in some hills on the way. But yeah, that's in my mind. So if anyone does that before me and you've heard this, you're stealing my ideas. But that's fine. Go and do it. I think it's Bodham in near Peterhead to the Ardnamurchan Point, which is just south of the Ardnamurchan Lighthouse. So it's a fair way, but that appeals to me.
Is that the Highland Fault Line? I guess that goes
to
Stonehaven.
Yeah, the Highland Boundary Fault comes out of Stonehaven. That comes out all the way down through. People have definitely walked that. That comes through the Conic Hill and then onto Arran, and then the Atlantic gets in the way where it opened, and then it carries on to Newfoundland in Canada. So that would be a good one to do.
Well, good luck with whatever you plans to do. So we'll wrap it up there, and thank you, Chris.
No, great. Thanks for the chat. It's been good.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for listening, watching, however you're watching us. Right, goodbye.
Yeah, see you guys.